These are a pair of SteelSeries Arctis ones. Wireless. I've had these headphones for 2 years and they've served me very well in that time. You may notice they look pretty good for 2 years of being thrown around and banged on the floor. Here's why you should buy them. Let's start off with physical features. Right off the bat, they have a very sleek and modern appearance and they don't really scream gamer when you look at them. The only branding is on the side right here, and the only thing that would really suggest that they would be a more gaming-oriented headset is this microphone. And fortunately for you, you can take it right out. It's a bit of a more modern feature that we've seen a lot in headsets, but it's pretty nice to see it, especially for an $80 pair of headphones. Or at least that's what I paid for mine. On the side here, you've got a nice volume rocker and a mute slider, very tactile, and you'll know when you've got it muted. Aux in and micro USB to charge. Unfortunate that it doesn't use Type-C to charge, considering that the wireless dongle is in fact Type-C, but it's not as bad as you'd think. Only button on the headset is the power button, which you can use for pause, play, skip, just like you would on any other wireless pair of headphones. One gripe I do have is that in order to power off the headphones, you have to hold the power button for quite a long time. I'd say it's probably about 4 to 5 seconds, which gets a little annoying after about 2 years of usage. While we're on negatives, you may have noticed that the adjustment slider for the headphones here is in fact on the minimum setting. And that's not for looks, that's the way I use it. This is because I have what's called a small head. Now, this is unfortunate for you if you also have a small head, because they will expand over time. When I first got them, they were quite tight, almost uncomfortable, but they stretched out pretty quickly. They stayed stretched out, and they are pretty loose on the head. Now, I've had other headphones before, and they're not too differently sized. So the grip on these can get a little loosey-goosey after quite some time. You could remedy this by just tightening them down over time. I don't have this luxury. And this is especially problematic because I play a lot of VR, which means you have to put these on top of a headset. And that's going to add a little bit of extra stretch. So that's something to keep in mind. If you already have this problem with headphones, or you just kind of generally suspect you have a small head, people look at you a little weird, you might want to think about that before you pick these up. Here's a test of the onboard microphone for the SteelSeries. The mic itself is actually pretty good, but the limiting factor is going to be the headphones. The audio quality coming from the headphones to your computer is going to be slightly limited. So in case you were trying to be smart like I was, and try out a different mic plugged into your headphones, it in fact will not help you too much. It is the bandwidth of the wireless that's going to hinder you here. The microphone I was using to record this video is a Blue Snowball, which most people are familiar with. So they're pretty similar in terms of audio. They do sound a little different obviously, but they're not too horrendously different. I often use this microphone when I'm walking around for convenience, and it doesn't sound too horrible considering the price of the headphones and the whole package overall. So the keen of you might have gathered that this headset uses a form of Wi-Fi or 2.5 GHz wireless to transmit that information to this little dongle here. So it doesn't use Bluetooth, and it does not have a Bluetooth mode. This seemed like a downside or an upside, depends on who you ask. I don't have a Type-C port on my phone, so it was a downside for me. And this little dongle here, as cool and awesome as it would seem, does have its issues. Mainly that they designed the width in just a way that it'll block a nearby USB port if it's on your computer, just enough to hit the casing, but not the actual plug, so it's technically in spec. I'm not so sure how I feel about that one. One nice thing about this is that you can plug it into the bottom of a switch and it will work flawlessly. This is pretty nice, except I don't use my Switch in handheld, so I was a bit of a victim of the marketing on that one. In terms of connectivity though, this is great. I can plug it into my computer in the basement, walk upstairs, and even stand next to a microwave and it'll work just fine. It gets a pretty good range out of it. I'd say you get a good 60 feet probably guaranteed, at least in my case, but it depends on the obstructions and what's around you, and a lot of things like that. It doesn't really drop signal, and it doesn't really get kind of iffy. It just hard drops right about when it loses its signal. So for a wireless headset, you kind of expect some interference or something, but there's nothing like that. It works really great. The only issue I've had is recently, only in this past month or so, sometimes if it disconnects, it will not reconnect. And you have to turn off the headphones and turn them back on, which, when that takes about 5 seconds for each way, is a little annoying. But I gotta say, for wireless headphones, considering how great this little thing works and doesn't disconnect on you when you're sitting at your computer at least, it's enough to make me never go back to wired. These headphones have excellent battery life. I think the box might say 8 hours of continuous playback or something, but realistically it's going to be closer to 10 or 12. On max volumes, transmitting the mic and everything, when I first got these, I would be able to use them for nearly 2 days straight, and I mean that seriously. I wasn't always the smartest individual and would sometimes just simply choose not to sleep, and I would sit in a call, or listening to music, or whatever, for far past 24 hours. And these things held up. In terms of battery management or decline, you just do this when you're done with them, and you don't worry about it. Even after 2 years of extensive battery abuse, we'll call it, these things work great. I've forgotten to charge them, had them die, had them fully charged for long periods of time, and the batteries have held up great. You don't have to worry about the battery on these things at all, because I would say I use a computer far more than the average person should. And I use these for a very, very long amount of time. I've had no issues with them, no comfort issues, no battery issues. You will not have issues with the battery on these headphones. I can assure you that as a fact. There will be no problems. If you can somehow figure out how to drain these batteries before you are done using the headphones, then I would suggest you do something about your schedule before looking into new headphones. I've had absolutely no complaints with them, and they've outperformed what I'd expected dramatically. The box harshly underclaims what the battery on these headphones is actually capable of. Let's talk appearance. These have a very nice look to them. They look modern and they don't scream gamer. They have a nice matte black finish and have retained that look over time. They didn't age poorly at all, and they have a very nice look to them still, even after 2 years of constant use. The only deterioration that exists is a little bit of a divot in that headband, but it is still very comfortable. And the ear cups here have gotten a little weird, but as you can tell, they look very nice still. They're very plushy, nice, soft. The material is a little hard to describe. I'd say it's somewhere in the sweet spot between like a leather and an artificial kind of material. They're very, very soft. And this inside material, if it ever were to touch your ears, is also very nice. But the spacing is good enough where I don't think it would be a problem. These are over-ear headphones, but I don't see how there could be any issue with that, even if you do have big ears. They fit very nice on me, and mine do sit a little higher because I have the small head issue, as you're familiar. But these definitely pass the airport test. You can wear these out in public without getting looked at, and if you have them around your shoulders, then people don't think you're a psychopath. Now G430s, for example, maybe not the same effect. These are my old pair of headphones, and I had that issue when I wanted to bring them into school to listen to something or use them in general. I'm a big believer in over-ear headphones, and finding a pair that look pretty decent to wear out in public is a little difficult. But if you're looking for something like that, especially if your phone has Type-C, these are another good contender. So enough about that, let's get down to the business end of the headphones. Speakers and the part that touches your head. Speakers sound great. The software that SteelSeries gives you to work with these is really amazing. You can set up profiles and you have a full audio control. You can change your high end, your low end, and it even has dynamic range compression, at least that's what they call it, so you can make the really loud things quiet and the really quiet things loud. This is a gaming oriented headset, so that's nice to see, because that's probably my biggest issue with most games. They're really loud and they're really quiet, and it works very well. I've been using it consistently since I realized it was in the software. The headphones, after 2 years and occasional washing, are good. They are lasting and they're just as durable and comfortable as the day I bought them. That's probably gotta be my favorite feature about this headset, is the build quality. This cushion, it's a little dented, but it's been hanging on a monitor and been on my head since I bought it. The cushions, just as good. The inside hasn't gotten all nasty. And like I said, they sound great. In terms of just headphones, if you're not worried about features, these are good. They're gonna last you and they're gonna sound great. I have little to no complaints from that. Now, my favorite feature of these headphones is a feature called mic side tone, or monitor, or whatever you want to call it. It basically takes the output from this microphone, and without any software or transmission or anything, takes that and puts it in your ears. Now, this is a lot better than other solutions to this. The Logitech G430s, my old headphones, have this feature, and they do a pretty good job of it, but I think these ones do it better. In Windows, you can tell your computer to take a mic and play it back in your headphones, but there's a delay on this, and if you've ever used that, then you will know that that delay is very bad. This delay it's really not noticeable. If you were to sit down with one ear cup off and just kind of try to pick it out, it might be a couple of milliseconds. I couldn't tell you there was a delay at all. There obviously must be some, but not that I can tell. In software, you can disable this and change the volume of it up and down if you don't like the feature. And of course, you don't have to have the microphone, but for me, this feature is basically essential. It lets you hear yourself better when you're talking to kind of control your volume levels, and it's a lot like just taking one cup off your ear or having a pair of open back headphones, or it kind of gets rid of the noise canceling effect of headphones and lets you hear yourself better without making it so muffled. I think this feature is definitely underrated and is one that really should make its way into more headphones. Most people I've talked to who've tried this at first didn't like it, but after about a week or so, couldn't live without it. And it is a bit of a two-sided blade on that regard, where once you get used to it, it's very hard to find a pair of headphones that have it that you also like. Which is why I've had these for so long. It's such a nice feature that it's enough to keep me using these. So, we know these headphones are good, but are they for you? Well, if you came from a pair of these, or especially a pair of these, then I would say yes, probably. They're not the best headphones in the world, but they're certainly far from the worst. So in closing here, good pair of headphones. I would say you should get them. You can use it plugged in while it's charging and use the aux, although I'd say you're probably better off charging than just using the aux. I personally never use it, but it does sound pretty good. I did test it. There's no issues with static or interference while you're charging the headphones, so that's another thing that I've had before. Especially on aux, just don't use the aux, honestly. It's not really worth it. It's a lot better to just charge them and use the wireless. But I think that these are probably the sleekest gaming headphones you're gonna get, especially now. And I've used them on a plane, I've used them in public. You don't get a lot of looks. They look like normal headphones. You can wear them over your shoulders just fine. Good headphones.